how can we assure that we're building sustainable workforces and not just networks?
That's a really good question. So that's something that comes up quite a bit, actually. Whenever we think about workforce development, or whenever I think about workforce development, whenever I'm thinking about it from the tribal perspective, there's always this underlying thought, which is there has to be some sort of economic development, there has to be some sort of long-term benefit to a tribal nation, for instance. So rather than just focusing on it as, yeah, this infrastructure needs to be built, or we need to build whatever middle mile, it's more important to think of it in terms of how can we create some sort of sustainable, long-term affairs for people in it. So I try not to think about it solely in terms of just the networks, because if we do that, what ends up happening is it creates opportunities to, yes, create training programs, but it's sort of, trying to think of a good way to describe it, sort of, let's just get this over with really quickly. The job was here for a minute and now it's gone. If we can try to focus on the actual economic impact of that network, especially if it's a tribal nation, and really think hard about the fact that we're creating opportunities for people that they can then contribute in some other more meaningful way, maybe a higher wage or something like that, then I think we're actually creating opportunities. So it really is just it's trying to differentiate between the physical infrastructure and the actual kind of abstract concept of somebody's life or their family's situation.
Okay, and why does having a homegrown tribal workforce matter to these types of communities?
I think the reason that it matters to have a homegrown workforce here is because it shows there's an investment in the community, and it creates opportunities for people where they're at. A lot of the time, and you can take any industry, even the broadband industry, a lot of the times the work is sort of transient, portable, or it's mobile. And whenever that kind of thing happens, create opportunities for people, but it's sort of limited. It might only be the people that can afford, and I say afford in a different way here. Maybe they don't have kids, they don't have family that's tying them to one location. So if we have a homegrown workforce, then we have some way to either keep people where they're at, keep them at home, and again, in a tribal context, we might be able to bring people back that have relocated. An interesting conversation happened fairly recently when we were talking about the idea. It's sort of a brain drain. Whenever there's limited workforce and economic opportunities, and people kind of have no choice but to take something else. And that's happened in broadband, that's happened in all sorts of other industries. So whenever we can train close to home, create that homegrown workforce, we're really just saying, hey, look, we figured out a way, or trying to figure out a way to provide you with opportunities right here. So it's very important, I think, to kind of keep the community's structure intact.
Similar to rural America and the efforts to keep people in towns. So can you tell us a little bit about what OSUIT is doing to support these tribal tech sectors?
Absolutely. So a lot of the work is really partnering with the tribes, hearing out what they need, and then trying to approach this in terms of what technology might they need, what training might they need, in pursuit of their interests. So a lot of that is simple questions. What kind of enterprises does a tribal nation, for instance, have, or municipality have? What are they interested in exploring? And then, of course, to me, it's a given, but to try to get people to understand that presents an opportunity and a pathway to create that workforce development. So whether it's broadband, whether it's renewable energy, things like that, industrial technology, manufacturing, by being able to be a trusted partner with the tribes, we can really help them identify what they might want to pursue. Even to the point of, we have 39 tribes federally recognized in Oklahoma. You definitely don't want to say, hey, 38 of us, let's all pursue the same exact enterprise, venture. So by helping them, being there for them in that capacity, we can almost kind of do this sort of a group effort, so that we can, in a way, strategically stage things across the state, for instance. So I think really being there to hear them out, because right now a big example is data centers. They're kind of going in everywhere, or people are talking about them everywhere. Tribes have a different perspective on that, perhaps. So having those conversations, we might come to realize, okay, we're going to need to approach this a little bit differently. Maybe they want this or they don't want that, which means a whole new kind of job for us. We develop training on it. So we're kind of trying to be involved in any way that I can. And then, of course, I really do like to pursue the things that are the most interesting to the tribes.
So how does connectivity change the trajectory of a tribal family?
That's a good question. Whenever we were running our NTIA Connecting Minority Communities grant, one of the things we realized is that it creates opportunities for people. So we were giving out Wi-Fi hotspots as part of our grant, and the feedback that we received from people was pretty interesting. I thought, in a bit of a cliched way, that sure, telehealth would be a thing, sure, remote work would be a thing, but it didn't prepare me for the reality, which would be people coming in, and it wasn't just telehealth, it was, and I had a very severe chronic thing going on. I can't actually go to that. Or I'm a single parent, and it's pandemic times, and I need something for my kids to be able to either attend school virtually or just have some sort of decent entertainment, if anything. So it provides families with all sorts of different kinds of supports, but it also kind of levels the playing field. We hear it all the time. People try to submit job applications on paper. It's not so much like that anymore. Even to the point trying to do it on your phone isn't exactly the best way. But if you have that high-speed connectivity, you're aware of things in real time. You can actually apply. You're not late to it. If it was really, let's say we didn't have high-speed internet, and you were left in a certain community to have to go physically to a business location to fill out the application, you're just years behind everybody else that's applying for it. So having that connectivity creates opportunities for financial prosperity, mobility. It's absolutely necessary.
How do you prepare for the fact that 10 years things will be different? How do you cultivate this workforce so they're not obsolete?
So one of the things that we really try to focus on is building multiple off-ramps. Again, going back to just fiber splicing, there's one thing you can do with that. That's it. But if you teach somebody how to, let's say, climb utility poles, install aerial hardware, middle mile, that's a skill that can translate into high voltage, that can translate into all sorts of other things. You're going to be using all sorts of heavy equipment, different kinds of machinery that you would use in other industries. So the idea is connect with industry in some way, see what they need, kind of in a big picture way. What does your whole workforce look like? And how can we address that rather than just sort of saying, here's the one thing, that's it. And, a great example is the program that we do with Cherokee Nation in Telecom, Oklahoma. Students go through that program. They learn how to climb utility poles, do actual aerial construction for fiber or middle mile. They learn how to do trenching, boring, bucket trucks. Then they go sort of inside. They learn the splicing, utilizing networking, and troubleshooting like that. Then they start learning inside plant, if anybody's familiar with that. They're getting to the point now where we're building the training so they can start to work in the data centers potentially. And by the end of it, there's about 7 different core industries or niches within this industry that can go into. And, I guess a very illustrative example would be any training on Earth, any workforce development program developed, if you just add a CDL licensing component to it, it doesn't matter if a person learns anything else in that program. If they get the CDL, you can go do something with that. So we try to build in as many off-ramps as possible, including the degree pathway, which is there all the time with our programs. Because somebody might decide, I've got some of these micro credentials that can translate potentially with college credit. I might just go for the rest of the degree. Now I can be a network engineer or something like that.
All right, and last question, Brandon. First of all, thanks for sitting down with us today. I really appreciate the interview. What does a connected America look like for our tribal nations, at 10 years from now?
An actual connected America for the tribal nations. I think that we close that digital divide. I think right now it's very noticeable. And I think what we'll see in 10 years in a connected nation for tribal communities will be one of a lot more financial prosperity, I think. I think we'll see it tying into a lot of their operations, whether it's gaming and hospitality. I think that we'll see, hopefully, a lot more tribes at the table that actually had to say some of the conversations. You know, the way things have rolled out, obviously, this was a big thing that we all engaged in, this massive broadband rollout. And I think that we've learned that we definitely need to have the tribes at the table from the get-go, even in designing something like this. So I think what we'll see in 10 years is a lot more of a tribal presence. You know, I also think, and this is just my personal opinion, because of my experience as a Cherokee and living in Oklahoma, we have amazing healthcare in the tribal system. We have amazing supports and services. I think that what we'll see is the tribes sort of lead the way and do some innovative, very unique thing. I'm really excited about that.
Well, so are we. Thank you, Brandon, for your time this morning, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Connected America.
Thank you.